Now we're live. All right. Hey friends, and welcome to the Reinvention Show, the one and only show that educates, entertains, and supports you on your journey to reinvention. I am your host, Carol Wayne, and I'm here to help you on your journey. Today I'm talking with Ray Borja. Ray is a branding and advertising consultant with a master's degree in entrepreneurialism from Purdue University. And he has a master's certificate in NLP, life coaching, and hypnosis, which he has combined to form a personal brand coaching business. We're going to talk to him to find out why he founded the Empowered Man Project, a project very near and dear to his heart. Ray?
How you doing, Carol?
Apart from having a trouble with my hypnosis.
It's okay. I'm going to have hypnotize you so you can say hypnosis properly. How's that?
That's good, thanks. So, Ray, tell us your story. Tell us why you reinvented yourself.
Well, there are really two major life-changing episodes that have transformed my life and caused me to search for reinvention. The first one, which was a major part of my life, was in grammar school, because I was the only Asian kid in the entire school. Being brown skin, and back then I wore these big black rimmed glasses. Being squinty-eyed kid in the entire school, I was really made to feel very inferior. In fact, I even had several classmates who I thought were my friends initially, only to turn on me at some point and challenge me so that they can challenge me to fight so that they could gain acceptance by the other kids in the school. So in a white-dominated world, it defined who I was. And moving forward through high school, college, and beyond, I really had to fight to try to feel that I was accepted. But instead, I found ways to further differentiate myself from the masses. And I went ahead and branded myself as a rebel, and to feel uniquely qualified to be as a one-of-a-kind individual. Now, one of the things that I walked away from this was that basically when everybody tend to move at one direction, I walked away, turned, and walked towards the other direction. I really wanted to consistently brand myself as a powerful individual. But it also had some consequences too. One of the major consequences is that deep down inside, I was still harboring that inferior complex. And after much personal development courses and a lot of self-therapy, I was able to get out of that victim mentality and inferiority complex, and really became the first genesis of my reinvention process. And the two things that I've learned was that I created the entire story of being inferior in my head. And I created the entire story that I was strange and unlovable. And knowing this and understanding that I am the creator of my life, I was able to rewrite the whole story. And it's the story that was inside me all along, so that now I get to feel that I am absolutely and positively lovable. And a person, and I have to believe, and I do believe, that I am someone that everybody would like to know and eventually also love. And number two, I've also learned that it really wasn't about my skin or my eyes, because all you have to do is just open up the TV or listen to the news, and you find people of the same race picking on each other all the time. You know, you don't have to be Asian in the white world, or Mexican in the black world, or all this other different types of permutations to feel as if you're being bullied. White people bully each other all the time. Black people bully black people all the time, etc. And so what I really started to get was that I was really not being bullied for my race. really what was I being bullied for was that I was really misunderstood for my difference, you know, and understanding that difference, understanding who I am, what makes me truly unique, is is what was the entire basis of my own self-therapy. And number three, I really now believe that it's okay to be different. It is really what makes me unique. And the older I get, the more I want to expand my uniqueness and to grow and to expand. And as I look at all of the leaders and some of the most exceptional people in the world, they are the outcasts. They're the ones who were very different. They're the ones who chose to not follow the average. They sought out not to be mediocre, but they really sought out to expand who they are. They know that they're truly unique. And so that's my course in my life. And the second reinvention was my divorce in 2006. And that was a real difficult time for me. I was married with a woman that I truly loved and supported for about 10 years. And in the summer of June 2006, I remember she sat down and she said, "Ray, I have something to tell you." And she had a glass of wine, and we sat on the floor of the bedroom, and right by the door. And I could just recall it. It was roughly about 8:30. We had dinner. I walked in her room. She turned down the lights, and I was kind of, laying on my stomach as she was, sitting in cross-legged. And she said, "I have something to tell you." And she said that I hope you don't get mad, but I'd like to have a divorce.
Wow.
And that shocked my world. And at first I'm thinking to myself, okay, you know what? I could solve this problem too. Being a man, I always think I have to solve the problems. Um, because this came totally out of the blue. And it caught me by surprise because till then we've never really fought, we never really argued. We had a nice house in Southern California, Temecula, and we traveled a lot, so I thought we were doing everything right. But little did I know that maybe somewhere deep down inside, she was also looking for ways to reinvent herself. She called it. I said it was. Um, what would you call it, midlife crisis? And she's saying no, it's a midlife opportunity.
Wow.
But it rocked my world to a point where I started to think, okay, what did I do wrong? After all these years, I thought I was loving. I thought I was a good husband. I wasn't the best provider, but we'd never suffered either. And we were consistently growing. Um, and when she left, I found out that she also met another man throughout the divorce process. A couple of months after she proclaimed that she wanted to end the relationship, and I started to question myself as a man. Why did she have to leave our relationship, and she found love through someone else? And so, for the next 7 years, I studied and I took numerous self-development programs and coaching courses. I interviewed and I coached men and women from around the world, trying to find ways in which I could better myself as a man and as a human being. And I even started a men's empowerment program in Southern California, which grew from 6 individuals to about 100 individuals um, um, in less than a couple months. And I started to realize that there's a lot of men out there who are looking for ways to improve their lives. Unfortunately, there's also still a lot of ego involved. So men want to change their lives, but at the same time, their ego is also pulling them back. And also what I found out was that womanhood was starting to rise. And like a sleeping, lumbering giant, womanhood is starting to wake up. And that became the basis of Empowered Men Project. And if I was to, I was thinking here about giving the tips of the reinvention, but maybe I should go ahead and start talking a little bit about the Empowered Men Project. I mean, unless you have any other questions about how
Yeah.
I chose to reinvent myself.
How did you get, okay, so you explained that it was your own personal journey,
Hmm.
but what was it specifically that um, twigged you to create this network? Because we'll talk about the network in more
Okay.
detail
Sure.
in a
Sure.
little while.
Um, Really, what caused me to start with this network was I created this a bucket list. Okay. So after divorce, I said to myself, you know what? If she is going to go through a midlife crisis, well, damn it, so will I. And so I'm not going to fight. I'm not going to fight it. I am going to join it, right? And so I looked deep inside myself, and I started writing about 25 items. I created a 25 item bucket list that I want to complete before I die, or at least within this stage of my life. One of them was skydive, and I did that. And there are two types of skydiving. One is where you get attached to the back to the front of some guy.
Right.
And the last thing I wanted to do was, if the parachute didn't die, I don't want to be remembered as, being on the bottom of some guy. I didn't want to be I didn't want my butt attached to someone else. And so I took an accelerated free fall program, which was an entire day-long program class on how to jump solo on your first jump.
Wow.
And so that was really exciting and also really scary at the same time, because until you have that feeling of weightlessness and the ground coming at you at about 125 miles an hour, actually a very scary feeling. But it's something I did and something I'm very proud of. Second of all was to bungee jump. It was about 100 feet up, in which I bungee jumped here in California. And then I also traveled around the world, most specifically backpacked through Europe, which I thought was an amazing time for me. And one of the things that I found throughout my travel was that I had an opportunity to speak with a lot of men in my journey. And these are men from around the world. And one of the questions they were always asking me is not only where I'm from, but also what do I do? How was I able to just decide at that age? I was like 40. I just turned 40, and back in 2007, and and they were asking me what took me on this journey. And when I told them about my story, about getting a divorce and trying to find my way, and how I was able to recreate myself by helping other men empower themselves. I had started this organization, the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. I kid you not, about 95% of them wanted to learn more.
Okay.
About 75% of them wanted to know how they could start a similar organization in their country. And they, several of them even wanted to follow me around as if I was this Pied Piper, always trying to pick at my brain to find out ways in which they could develop themselves as an individual and as a man. And it really uh, um, it lit this dim light bulb in my head that, what, maybe there's something here. There's something missing in the world, in men globally. I always thought it was just a problem that might be local or based in the United States. But as I spoke with more men, I come to realize that it's this global phenomenon, that men would love to find ways in how they could improve themselves in all aspects of their lives, whether it's financially, emotionally, uh, personally, motivationally, and relationship-wise.
Now,
you
is
know.
the Empowered Men Project, is that an actual business for you, or is it a passion? Like, is this your main source of income right now, or is it something that you're doing um, as a labor of love to give back? How does it work for you?
Well, it's interesting because as we speak right now, I'm in the process of creating the creating the Empowerment Project. Initially, it was the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, and when it grew to about 100 individuals and about 4 different chapters in Southern California. I did not have the foundation to support it. It was
Okay.
basically me. Okay, and we have these monthly meetings in which, depending upon the chapters, we would get together, right? And I quickly found myself as a father figure, and almost every day I would have anywhere from about 5 to 10 men call me to help support them and coach them through whatever problem that they had. And all of a sudden, it just imploded because I could not handle it.
Right.
In fact, I just said to myself, oh, I can't handle all these whiny men. I gotta get out of here, you know. And so at that point, that's when I moved back to Chicago. And one of the things I was supporting myself was through my brand and marketing consultation. And I started to do some work in Chicago with some clients I had out there. Um, but I realized that that wasn't my passion. My biggest passion was to help people. And one of the things that I had on my bucket list was to write a book, to travel around the world some more, to go out there and make a huge impact in the way how people relate with each other, with themselves, and how they're able to communicate that as an individual. And and one of my biggest um, group of people that I talk with on an individual basis all the time were women. Women, I don't know, I have roughly about 80% of the people I know, of my friends, are women, okay? And they all talk to me about what's going on in their life, as if I'm girlfriend. Yeah. Girlfriend. Not girlfriend, but, it's
Yeah,
a,
I know.
yeah, yeah.
Girlfriend.
Yes, it's a girlfriend. And one of the biggest complaints was, guess what?
Their
Their
husbands.
men.
They're men.
Yeah, their men or their husbands or their boyfriends. A good majority of them are single, and so they're on this dating cycle, and they all tell me the same thing, that men have problems. They can't find quality men.
Wow.
And yeah, absolutely, they can't find quality men. And those who are married, about a good 50% of them want to divorce their husband. And so I started doing a lot of studying. I started reading, and I started trying to understand the process and the reasoning why women are leaving their husbands. There's that statistic about 50 to 55% of all divorces are ending up in divorce, right? They say 50% of the marriages are ending up in divorce.
Yeah.
Out of that, about 70 to 75% are being instigated by the wives.
It's startling, isn't it?
It really is astonishing. At least I thought it was 50%, but no, about 70 to 70% of the women are instigating the breakup of the marriage. And that is when I started to find the reason why. And I said to myself, I have to do something about this. Because how would the world look like if there are more single people out there? Okay, families are affected. There are more and more children, uh, not only being born out of wedlock, but they're also um, being raised in environments in which it's a one-parent family household, right? So they're not really fully understanding what it is to have a loving family structure. Um, a lot of the boys are being raised by their mothers. They're not having any positive male role models. So that's further degrading the possibility of any kind of healthy relationships in the future. Where's mankind going to,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so as I started doing more research, I also realized that women are banding together in greater numbers and in larger frequency. There are women empowerment groups all over the country, all over the world. Okay, even CNN has a special tab on CNN.com for women and girls. And so that's why I believe womenhood is the sleeping giant. And I think in 2016, if Hillary decides to win and she will be president, you will see a greater number of women moving towards the direction of independence, of strength, being able to find themselves. You're going to find more and more women starting businesses. You're going to find more and more women being the matriarchs or the leaders of their family. You're going to start seeing them in heads of corporations. There's going to be a greater sense of equality because women are going to be demanding equality in all levels of their lives. And in many ways, they're also going to demand for inequality, meaning that, hey, I want to get paid more than the men.
Mm-hmm.
Because not only can I raise my family and raise the kids, but I am just as smart and just as capable and just as powerful as my male counterparts. Now, when that happens, two things are going to happen to men, right? One is that they're going to crawl into a corner and suck their thumbs and just accept it and further degrade the male brand. Or number two, they're going to rise up and start taking some form of violent action against women.
Yeah.
And you're seeing it right now. I just watched on CNN about how a man broke into a home. Some girl. She was a rising star. She was a singer. She was an actress. She was in theater. And this was, I think, it's out in Pakistan. And he broke into the family's home and threw acid on her face.
Oh yeah, I heard about that story.
You
That was
know,
sick.
and yeah,
Absolutely.
it really is sickening. So I think that there's going to be a greater influx of violence against women because men are trying to find ways on how they can gain control of their environment, gain control of themselves, and one of the ways they're going to do that is to do it with violence if women aren't um, capitulating to the men. Okay. Also, in some parts of the world, there are more men than there are women. So women are becoming a scarcer commodity, especially in China and India.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and so they're going to be more pickier. They're also going to go out there and become more educated. So for them to get married when they're young, it's no longer something that they have no control over. Now they have the power of choice. And with the power of choice comes the power to be able to say, you know what, I'm closing off everything from below my neck to men until I choose for them to, to be a part of that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And then, they're going to have to start battling themselves. I mean, they're battling themselves out of a scarce resource. All right? Here in the United States, it's a little different. There are more women than there are men. Okay? And that's why I find that there's a lot more women out there instead are trying to raise their standards. Okay, so men here in the United States, I see, are starting to get lazy. I have been through to so many empowerment programs, self-development programs, entrepreneurship programs, and there are more women than there are men. There are. I just came from David T. Fagan's Icon Media Builder program just this weekend, and there were about 27 women and 17 men. Okay, and you just go across the board. There are a lot more women who are looking for ways to empower themselves. Okay, and men, on the other hand, are starting to have a sense of loss. They have lost their power and drive. They're trying to understand their purpose and lot in life, and they can't find it. They're trying desperately to try to keep up and reinvent themselves next to their women who are reinventing themselves, but they're failing. So also men are becoming more feminized, and women are starting to lose a lot of their respect for the men. And that's why you see a lot of these divorces. Okay, I mean, here you are, you're a wife, you're also a mother, you're also you're raising your children, and you have a job. And many times you as a woman are making more money than your husband. Now, you come home, you cook the dinner, and you prepare everything, and your wife comes, and the husband comes home, he sits down in front of the computer or plays Xbox, demands for beer. His conversations with his other men are nothing more than still, decades down the line, are still beer, boobs, porn, and right? Video games, right? I look at how men are presenting themselves. They are, when you see them walking down the street, they present themselves as big boys, right? They're walking around with t-shirts, shorts, baseball caps. It really doesn't differentiate them from their sons.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
It looks really awful when a midlife man is dressing like a gangsta.
Exactly. Exactly. And so I had to choose. I had to choose either I go and support the winning side,
No,
which is
that's my
women.
side. This is my side. Come on.
Exactly. I either support womanhood and help them grow and expand, or I have to go and help rebuild, recharge, and reinvent the male brand so that they could find partnerships with their women. And so it became an easy choice for me, because me being a man, I find that there's a lot of men out there who want to be able to build their brand as a man. There's still a lot of ego, so I have to cut that down, but I still believe that there's a lot of promise for them, and that's what I'm involved in now. So to to talk about exactly what I'm doing is my first stage is I'm creating a blog and a website. A lot of our programs are going to be geared towards educating men and everything from all walks of life, from health to presentation in terms of how to dress your stuff, how to style, communication, motivation, how to help men build their finances, etc. So I'm really excited about this process. I'm also in the process of writing a book. In fact, I have 3 books in the back of my head, but I could only write one at a time. So I have one book that I'm going to be launching probably in the next 90 days. Actually, by the end of summer, it'll be complete, along with the blog. And then I'm going to be starting meetups across the United States. And part of the meetups is that we're going to be having experts from style consultants to coaching to motivational experts to finance experts come and talk to men, talk to them about how they could improve their lives. Now, is it going to be a men's only club? Well, I hate to say it, yes it is. But and you might be able to, and people might say, hey, it's sexist. I'm saying no, it isn't really, because the real beneficiaries of the program are going to be women.
Yeah. Yeah, and this is why I wanted you on the show, is because you and I are doing very similar things, except I'm helping women, particularly midlife women,
Yes.
whose children are in the process of leaving the nest or have left the nest,
Yes.
who are professional women. And I also have a very special place in my heart for women who have been emotionally, physically, or psychologically abused at some point in their life. I'm helping them to reinvent themselves. And as I'm helping these women and you're helping the men, it's a really good synergy, because we can't, like you said, we can't have a disparity. Like we got to raise, what is it? When the tide comes in, all the boats get raised, or something like that. I always
The
screw those up.
standards.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I truly believe that because, women are going to rise, all right, and you're going to be one of the leaders in that movement. Okay. Men, unfortunately, there's not enough organizations out there to support these men. My goal is to become a global powerhouse. It's beyond just men in the United States, but I think there's a greater need out there for men in Asia, in Europe, in Africa, in South America. Men are trying to find ways to define themselves. And as women like you have taken the leadership helm, um, we also need leaders in the men's division as well.
Exactly. Exactly. Now, Ray, I want to just change gears quickly here. I'm a mom,
Mm-hmm.
and I know a lot of um, my viewers and my clients are moms. How, as moms, can we do a better job raising sons so that they grow up to be men that are attractive to women? And I don't mean necessarily in a physical sense, but as a partner, as a life partner, as a best friend, as a support system. How can we, as moms and dads, as we raise our sons, what can we do?
One of the biggest complaints I hear from women, and and they don't even have to complain. All I have to do is just observe, is that men has lost the sense of chivalry.
Of chivalry. Okay.
Yes, absolutely. Um, you know, when you enter a store or a building, open the door for someone. Okay, and it doesn't necessarily have to be only a woman. It could be a man as well. It could be children. It's just a sense of chivalry that permeates your entire being. Okay, and and to me, chivalrousness is being able to give of yourself. Okay, to be able to think of the other person. It's not to be self-centered and only think of yourself. You know, find out ways in which yourself as a human being, as a man, how could you go out there and give a sense of your own personal value to someone else. And so I think if you're a mother or a father trying to train your sons and how to do that, I think it's very important. So if I was a mom, I would tell my sons, okay, open the door for me. Okay. As we go inside the car, I would teach them how to make sure that they always open the door, the car door, for the mom. Okay. Um, because if you're at that level of service, and this is all really what chivalry is to be of service to other people. Um, it it, um, it becomes a way of life. It becomes a way of being. Okay, because then you're always looking for ways on how you can serve people. Now, serving people doesn't make you a slave to them. Really, what that does is it opens up a huge door of opportunity, because if you come from the mindset of serving others, that also plays in rather handsomely financially, because you're looking at ways on how you can solve other people's problems. And it is in the solving of other people's problems that's going to open some doors to financial abundance as well. So if I was a mother or a dad, I would teach the sons on also how to find passion and support them in finding something that they're really passionate about, finding a way to find purpose. Um, I went to this once again. I went to this one program, David's Icon Mindset program, and the median age of the men were 55. Okay, these men, and they're well into their middle age, are trying to reinvent themselves. Now, that's all great, but when you're 55 and you're a man, and you have to rebuild your career, I mean, that's devastating. You know, here you are for about a good 40 years of your life, you're working in a career that you absolutely hate. And now you're trying to find out ways on how you could recreate yourself, how you could build a business, how you could rebrand yourself, how could you reinvent yourself. And you know, if you have this ego, or if you have any sense of loss, or um, you know, sense of low self-esteem, your life is pretty much over. You know what I mean? And I just see that. I just looked around the room and I saw a lot of men who, to me, just really appears to be on the verge of despair.
Yeah, I see it too. I also see a lot of young people that really, it, their behavior really concerns me. Now, I was a rebel teenager, just like you were, um, but I'm even talking about people in their 20s,
Yeah.
and you know, I blame the pop culture. Like my eldest daughter, she, I'm sure she was auditioning for Mean Girls every single day, like in her mind. And all of those shows, they were just showing people who were bitchy at each other and treating each other like crap, and sleeping around and this and that, and there was no values to it. I'm very concerned for that generation
Generation.
as they start to settle down, because you know, relationships, they're work.
Yeah.
um, Even when you have a good relationship, it's work, and it's easy to say, like what happened with you, it's easy to just go, well, we're not fighting,
Hmm.
so everything must be okay. And then one day you go, oh, wait a minute, it's not okay.
Yeah.
Where was I? What happened?
Right. Right. It's a wake up call. It's like someone throwing ice water at your face while you're soundly asleep, thinking that you're living, you know, that you have this wonderful dream.
Yeah,
Then you wake up, and the reality is it's not as good as you thought it was.
yeah.
You know, and it's absolutely true. My heart is to a lot of the young men, okay, because they're our future,
Hmm.
and a lot of these young men have dads who are just as lost. Okay, good 50% of them don't know their a good portion of them don't know their dads.
Hmm.
All right, so they've never even had the positive male role model. So now they're coming into a world in which it's highly competitive. Jobs are more scarce. They were never brought up properly in how to uh, um, live a life that has abundance. Instead, they're immersed and inebriated in video games, violent video games. And what a lot of the video games are doing is it's putting men and women, but a lot of them are, a good majority of them are men, into a fantasy world, okay, where they get either to play hero in their own little world. And how they play hero is they got to kill the enemy.
Hmm.
It's always about death. They always have to kill something. And and people wonder why many of the violent crimes being committed today are being done by young men. Look around, it's video games. You know, they have lost the value of life because um, they're they're associating either with the wrong crowd, or they're not associating with people at all in general. They lock themselves in the room and play these fantasy games. And so how they relate to the world is basically how they relate to the fantasy world. Okay? And so there needs to be programs out there that needs to be installed, in which takes men away from this type of fantasy, to teach them about what it takes to be a real man, how to present yourself. I mean, how to communicate. How to develop a sense of self-esteem, self-awareness, and self-control, and to, most importantly, is to develop a sense of passion. When you're passionate about something, whether it's out there to save the Amazon rainforest, or to build a charity, or to start a business that will employ other people, you need to find that sense of passion. Okay. Um, you had Raphael Love, one of our friends who we met several weeks ago, was on this program, and he inebriated himself through World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until he found his calling that he was able to break away from that cycle of addiction and and um, reinvent himself as the social media guru. And now
Dr.
he's
Love.
Dr. Love, and he's doing so phenomenally well right now, and I really, really appreciate him for that. So,
So we're running out of time. So
okay.
what are your 5 reinvention tips?
My 5 tips for reinvention is: number one, get a mentor. Okay, and this mentor doesn't have to be someone who's necessarily physical. This mentor could be someone who you aspire to become. Okay, so if in the world of let's say business, you might want to aspire to be like Steve Jobs. In the world of acting and motivation, you might want to aspire to be like Will Smith. And if you can't speak to them in general, of course, Steve Jobs is dead and Will Smith is a megastar, so it's not like you could call them. But you could read their biographies, get a book and read about who they are and what they've done. Go on YouTube and listen to what for me, I listen to what Will Smith has to say all the time. He's an amazing man. So get yourself a mentor. Number two, stop watching TV. Most of TV is if it's bad news, which is usually negative news. It's meant to draw you down because negativity sells. Violence and chaos sells. But there's also a lot of reality TV that is just heinous. You know, they tell the reality stars to be as bad as they can be because it sells. So stop watching TV. Instead, start reading more books, or start getting yourself involved in programs out there that's meant to empower you and educate you. Two, it's listen to motivational CDs, audios, videos, or read some form of motivational book every day. Every day. It's to me, motivational messages, whether they're in a form of audio through YouTube or videos like in YouTube or in books, is something that I'm just so addicted to. It's my addiction. Number four, fire people. You want to get rid of the people who reduce the quality of your life, who fills you with drama, who gives you negative opinions all the time. So you want to get the people who are negative in your life and push them aside. And it might be a little lonely, but that's why you have the motivational CDs. And then start filling in your lives with people who will actually make a difference in your life in a positive way. And number five, you want to change the inner critic in your mind. And one of the ways I changed the inner critic was I wore this black, thick rubber band around my waist. And the inner critic used to say, I am not good enough. Okay, I would look at what other people have and what other people are doing and say, see, you'll never get to that level. You're not good enough. You're not smart enough. You're not tall enough. You're not white enough. You're not this enough, whatever. And I used to take this rubber band, and whenever I had a negative thought, I would pull it a couple inches and let it snap. Okay. And after a time, I realized that my wrist was rather red and painful. So at that point, then I stopped that inner critic. So now I don't think about that anymore. So those are my 5 tips.
Great. Sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say, just to, it's get a mentor, stop watching TV, listen to motivational, get people out of your life who are negative, and wear a rubber band.
Wear a rubber band. Yeah, okay. Now, how can people who are interested in the Empowered Men Project and Empowered Men International reach you?
Okay, they could go onto my blog site, which is being currently developed, and probably in the next couple weeks from this recording, it'll be fully up and going. But they could go on to the empoweredmen.com, empoweredmen.com.
Great.
Okay.
And do you have any parting words?
Parting words is, yes, don't let fear stop you. Fear is the #1 killer of your dreams. It's the #1 thing that's going to hold you back from reaching a life in which you're just so absolutely and phenomenally proud of. And whenever you see that fear coming, like a freight train in the dark, you gotta step aside and realize that fear is nothing more than just a mental construct, something that you have created in your mind. So stop the fear and start living.
Great. Well, thank you very much, Ray.
Thank you.
Thanks for being my guest.
Thank you very much for inviting me to your show.
All right. So there you have it, another fantastic episode of The Reinvention Show. Be sure to go to thereinventionshow.com to sign up for the VIP club. And if you need help with your own reinvention, go to carolwayne.com to discover how you can work with me. Until next time, ciao. If you'd like Carol to help you with your reinvention, reach out to her by going to her website and completing the Contact Us form, or send her an email at carol@carolwayne.com. She's also available on Skype at IDICarol, and on Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn, all Carol Wayne. Now we're live. All right.